The quality score in your Google Ads account impacts a lot of things in terms of the price that you're going to pay and the effectiveness of your campaign overall. So today we're going to take a deeper dive in what the Google quality score is. I think for experienced Google Ads managers, this is really central for how media buyers will develop a strategy. A lot of what we do in terms of bid strategies and account organization and the copy and funnels that we run are really impacted around driving and delivering the best quality score that we can within an individual ad account. Google will put an valuation on a score of 1 to 10. Primarily, this is done at the keyword level. But really, anything can have a Google quality score. Me as a user, I have a quality and a history with Google that they keep track of. The ad accounts do what domain does. All of these things, Google, a campaign has a quality score and a history with Google, and Google really does keep a track of all of those things. So it definitely comes into play. But today we're talking specifically around your ad experience, your quality score, and we're looking at that at a keyword level. So let's talk about it. How is a quality score calculated? What are the variables that Google takes into account when determining what your quality score is? Your expected click-through rate, your ad relevance, and your landing page experience. So we'll go through and we'll talk through each one of these and what maybe is a good ad relevance or a bad landing page experience. So we'll go through and we'll talk through each one of those in more detail. But before we do that, we need to understand how the Google ad auction works. So Google plays a little bit of a matchmaker. There is what the consumer is or the customer is searching for, and this is what we call a search query. So you can see in this example, someone is sitting at their computer, it seems like in Los Angeles, searching for a new car, Los Angeles. You'll see then we have 3 advertisers out here, and each advertiser is bringing a bid into the auction. So we have advertiser 1 who's bidding on a keyword, new car Los Angeles, and they have a bid of $1. Advertiser 2 has a bid of $2 on used car Los Angeles, and then advertiser 3 has a bid of $5 on car Southern California. So Google is making a determination on the quality score of each one of these. You can see in blue, I've gone ahead and thrown a quality score on here. We're working off of limited info, right? Because we just talked about there being 3 different things that we're going to look at. So this oversimplifies the quality score, but you'll see here for the first advertiser, we have a quality score of 10. You are targeting new car Los Angeles. The customer is searching for new car Los Angeles. That's really relevant. That is a close match. That's exactly right. And so you'll see quality score of 10 here. I like to think of this quality score as an amplifier on your bid. So this, again, oversimplifies it, but this is a really good way to think about it. If you have a bid of $1 and a quality score of 10, you can amplify that bid by your quality score, and you'll get your effective bid in this auction. So you can see we went from having a bid of $1 coming into the auction with a bid of 10. Over here, advertiser 2, we have UCAR Los Angeles. Used is not new. It's not totally relevant to what we're looking for. So you'll see we'll have a quality score that's quite a bit lower, a quality score of 4. It's not what the customer is searching for. And so here you'll again see we have a lower quality score. Our effective bid definitely gets elevated from that 2 we came to the auction with. But if you're competing with this advertiser over here who's really relevant, you're just not going to have the same bid and position in that auction. And then advertiser 3, you can see is not relevant, right? Someone's searching for new cars in Los Angeles. They're advertising cars, not necessarily new, not necessarily in Los Angeles. It's not nearly as relevant, even though they came in with a bid 5 times higher than advertiser 1. They're not going to be winning in this auction because their quality score is just too low. So this gives a good explanation or a good visualization of how Google tries to deliver the best quality ad experience for its users, right? Google really wants customers to keep coming back to Google and not to switch to Bing or some other search engine. And they do that by answering questions that customers have, right? Here, someone is searching for something. And so if you are not interjecting yourself into that search, you're distracting from it. right? People have a one-track mind, especially when they're on the hunt for something. And so putting something up that's not relevant is not going to get a click, and it's not going to get you favored in the Google algorithm. Google search does not work like Facebook, where people just scroll and they can go down little rabbit holes. This is something where people are searching for a specific topic, and we need to provide that specific information for them, whether it is a product that they're looking for or a job that they're looking to solve for. How to change my tire, right? You can show them a YouTube video on how to change your tire, or maybe you have a service to come and do it for you. Those types of things. We need to solve those jobs for it, solve those searches for people. Google uses this quality score to make sure that we're delivering that experience for the end user. So let's talk about each one of those components. Ad relevancy. How do we increase the relevance of our ad for whatever keyword we're targeting? The first thing I think about is a study that was done for waiters and waitresses. There was a waitress who did a test where she mimicked her customer's language exactly. And then there was another 50% of the time when she didn't mimic. She would maybe read exactly as it was written on the menu. There's some variance there. A customer might ask for a hamburger with cheese instead of a cheeseburger, whatever the exact terminology on the menu is. So when she did this, her tips increased by 68%, right? And this does not just work for waitresses or waiters. This works for search ads as well. When we use the exact language that a customer uses, their click-through rate goes up. Our ads become more relevant for those people. When you're searching for a specific term, you're searching for that thing. And by including that in our ad copy, we show that we have what you're looking for. I have the study on here. You can go check the science and read it if you want, but this is the big takeaway. So let's look at some search ad examples. I just went to Google, I typed in some terms to see what would return. Buy a new car. You can see advertiser number 1, TrueCar, mentions buy in their ad and mentions new cars in their ad. So that's kind of 3 out of 3. That is the ad that is in position 1. Advertiser 2 doesn't mention buy, doesn't mention new, doesn't even mention car. So you can see, compare number 1 to number 2, not nearly as relevant. You compare number 2 and number 3, number 3 looks like it's more relevant, right? We have cars.com, that's one match, new cars even. What I'm willing to bet here is that Chevrolet has deep pockets and their advertising maybe have a really high CPC. This seems like a pretty valuable search term for them, and so they're coming into this auction pretty aggressive. If I had to guess, that would be part of it, because from its face value, it looks like this ad number 3 might have a stronger quality score, even though they're fairly comparable. And we're also ignoring landing page experience and other elements here as well. Let's look at another example. So I'm searching learn to trade options. You can see ad 1 says learn how to trade options. It's not in the headline, but it is in that copy. You can see that is a big part of why that ad experience is in position 1. You can see also Google highlights it for us. They mention options 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Compare that with advertiser number 2, doesn't mention options a single time, and advertiser number 3 mentions it just once. So again, this is a time where we are seeing our language being used, and when that language is being mimicked, the ad position and the quality score being quite a bit higher. So we'll leave you with one last example. You can see here women's shoes. You can see all of our advertisers here at the top of the page are definitely leveraging that terminology. Women's shoes, being repeated more frequently. Didn't show you the ads at the bottom of this page, but when you scroll down, you start seeing the ads that don't mention those exact terms. So this is a good way to make sure that you're going to have a high relevancy. How do we increase click-through rate? Ad relevancy and click-through rate go hand in hand, right? If you are seeing a relevant ad, people are clicking on relevant ads. Those are what people are engaging with. The other big thing that we do to increase our click-through rate is ad optimization. So I would say that's the missing element that we haven't talked about already. How do we do that? We launch multiple ads, we run them against each other, we make determination about whether the ad, sometimes the best ad doesn't have the best click-through rate, but we are looking to increase our click-through rate, increase our performance against our CPA or our KPI target, and improve performance across the board. And so that ad optimization is that missing element here for increasing our click-through rate. There's also a lot of science on this, right? A lot of copywriters have done a lot of research in terms of terms and words that improve your click-through rate. I've run campaigns where adding the word free, when it's truly free, increases your click-through rate compared to low cost or no cost. And so you can play around with that. Put a coupon code if you're running an e-com campaign, and now you can see a higher click-through rate. There's a lot of tactics you can do to drive this outside of just the mimicry strategy we've already talked about. How do we improve landing page relevancy? This goes hand in hand with what we've already talked about, making that landing page experience mimic what customers are searching for. We'll look at that second example we looked at on the other side. So ad number one is driving to a landing page that, again, talks about options an awful lot, right? It's not perfect for this auction. You could definitely come in and outcompete this advertiser by putting how to trade options, get the free guide, or get the free course in your headline, right? You could also outcompete on this landing page by putting that at the top of your landing page. There is an economies of scale that you look at, because sometimes you can't do it for every single term that every single person is going to type into Google. And so you maybe bucket them together and try to get the most of them. But there is some opportunity to come in and get a higher quality score. But compared to the other ones we're looking at, advertiser 2 doesn't mention options at all. I don't think it even mentions trading. And so, again, here, it's an educational thing, but it is not competing in terms of quality score. Advertiser 3 down here mentions options, but other than that, it's not super relevant. It doesn't talk about learning to trade, those types of things. So it's pretty clear to me that landing page number 1 is more relevant for this learning to trade options. The same language is important. I do a lot of projects where it is maybe sustainable clothing, a sustainable clothing manufacturer, and maybe that's super clear on your product page. Maybe you talk about how the product is made from recycled water bottles. Maybe you talk about all of these other initiatives that might make the product sustainable. But if you don't physically say those words, sustainable, the landing page relevancy won't be as high as it could be if you were incorporating that exact terminology on your landing page. Okay, so the last thing that I will leave you with is, how do you know what Google has determined about your funnel or your ad experience? If you come into Google Ads and you look at this search keyword section, you will see some columns that we're going to look at right here. So you can see a quality score, you can see a historical quality score, you can see a landing page experience, historical landing page experience, an expected click-through rate, and then the historical expected click-through rate and ad relevancy. So this is what I use to look at this. I mentioned sustainable clothing. You can see ad relevance is above average or average. We're mentioning sustainable clothing in our ad copy. Our ad relevance, we just looked at, expected click-through rate is low. So this shows you that just by mimicking the language is not all you have to do there. There's other things that we need to be testing and doing optimization to get our ad relevancy up. You can see that expected click-through rate is below average. Maybe that's because there's other advertisers out there and the big brand names are what people are clicking on. And then you'll see here landing page experience below average. We need to incorporate more of that copy on our landing pages and really drive home the sustainable nature of the product if we're going to be bidding on these keywords. And then you can look at these quality score numbers. Google doesn't update these numbers in real time. It's not like Google is just like constantly checking your site and saying, oh, it's an above average landing page experience. They say let maybe 30 days pass if you made a serious edit before you really see that impact on the site. I think that it's like within 30 days, so it could be faster, it could take more time. It kind of depends. Google is scrolling through a lot of that stuff on those 30-day time frames, so it just depends on what frequency you made your change. But this is where I come in. I look at those things, and then you can tailor those ad experiences around that. From here, it gets into a lot of the strategy that we'll keep talking about in some later videos, right? How do you organize your Google Ads account so that you can optimize these numbers and deliver the best quality numbers? There's a whole, you can't just throw it in here if everything in one ad group or something and expect to be able to drive the best here. Revolves around how we add ads, how we test ads, the organization, all of that stuff. So we'll talk more and more about that, and we'll talk about how the strategy that we'll teach you relates back to this quality score. But this is really the foundation for all of that. As always, if you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email or sync with me on LinkedIn. I'm down to answer any questions that you guys have, and we will jump back in here with a new lesson tomorrow. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.